time of constantly switching up my razor blades, not because they're dull, just because like this has been a month. I'm done with these. And I always hate the people like, oh, you get facial hair if you get more, if you shave more often. Like, I have shaved more. I've shaved every day. I've done.
It's a myth.
Yeah, I even did the reverse. I even did like against the grain shaving. My wife can't watch me shave. She's like, you shave like an idiot.
If I shaved every day, my face would be bright red.
Yeah,
it's just.
Yeah.
I would have a lot of it would be nasty. It would be rough. Very painful.
Yeah. The only thing that really grows on my facial hair is my mustache. It's the only thing you see coming in. Right. That looks like, oh, wow, he's got some facial hair. But other than this is, I haven't shaved since Saturday morning at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been threatened with divorce if I ever shave the mustache or the goatee.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can see why.
Right.
Yeah, no.
That's abuse. Blink one time if you need to be risky.
My wife doesn't like facial hair on me. My wife doesn't want facial hair on me.
Yeah, except for Rhinos. That's safe for you. Sorry, Rhino.
Nowhere safe for me or from me.
All right, hi everybody. Welcome to an exciting new episode of Low Key on the Wheel of Shit Network. I'm your host, Harry Price, aka Movie Target, and weird voices you're probably hearing right now and aren't used to hearing. Some are familiar, some are like foreign. But as you guys may see from the title, Low Key is going to go political. I have been stunned by like weird things. I've been having a Discord channel open up called This Won't Age Well. I've just been grabbing into things and it was mess with me, and things have just been going weird in the political aspect that I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go political for this night. Then I just need to get stuff off my chest. And of course, as you guys all know, I don't go solo, I don't go anywhere. So I bring in a massive cast of characters everywhere I go. It's like, hi, Christy. Yeah, it's going to be fun tonight. It should be fun tonight. But as you guys know, I bring other people with me. And I want to bring Ryan. Ryan, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, everybody. The channel he's mentioning on the Discord is subtitled Reinhold Was Right. I told you so. And yeah, it should be a fun time.
My question is, can we set up a mailer so that it automatically pushes to people's comments and things like that? I have a few ideas.
There's like if we got like a printing press, we could probably just have Reinhold print out news like a month late just to show back like, hey, yeah, 2 weeks ago, someone tweeted this is right. It's in paper form now. It's forever. You know, he was right. But anyways, the other person voice you hear that's also like, we got Vaughn. Vaughn, go ahead and say hi. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Vaughn.
Do you introduce yourself to the low-key audience?
I'm Vaughn. I'm one of the few non-local people. I'm not in Indiana, but I'm out in Ohio.
Ugh, gross.
Ooh. And we still talk to him.
We'll use small words and talk slowly.
Sure.
Yeah. My hatred for Ohio mostly comes from the idea if they eventually understand that if they got light rail to all their major cities, they would control the Midwest. But right now, they haven't figured that out yet.
That would be incredible. That would be absolutely incredible. But
right
when did this turn to commie talk? I'm sorry, did I miss something?
Not commie talk to like trades, okay?
They're going to have 15-minute cities. That's all right.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
15-minute cities are awesome if you live in one.
Mm-hmm.
My town is almost one, but not quite.
Mine would be one if we got a better grocery store, but that is another.
Yeah, that's what we need too.
And you get the added expense of the river being on fire. It's a fun time.
Yeah, I don't live near the Cuyahoga River. I live near the Grand River. We've never set the Grand River on fire.
Yet.
Just yes. Just got to keep.
I was going to say, wait, what? You're pretty close to the train derailment. So, I mean, all we need to do is get that train derailment right next time. And hey, you can go to the Cuyahoga.
East Palestine is about 2 or 3 hours away from me.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And that Dr. Boomer talk coming over there is Brian. Brian, you go ahead and say hi.
Greetings from nowhere, Indiana. Glad to be on here. It's been a long time coming. So, looking forward to this.
I've been trying to get Brian on Loki. He is the Reinhold's backup, just in case like he ever breaks. You know,
Great
or
value, Reinhold.
yeah, great value. Timu, Reinhold, really.
Look,
Hey, I'm a faithful listener of Low Key Wall, so
Yeah. The 350 plus people who download the show every time Dear Leader pushes our episodes out.
it's been a while.
once a year, whether they need to or not, kind of thing, you know.
So for the audience, when you do hear this in November,
Probably.
we're talking about stuff that's happening in sometime in June, I think.
Mid-June.
Yeah, mid-June,
Like
end of June.
June.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is recorded
After
on June 20.
You know, we could
23.
just start saying, you know, we're recording this in February. This is what's going to happen over the next few months.
We all have to dress appropriately, you know. Okay, everybody act like it's cold.
Start add things on, but like burn up in the suckers.
I don't know. My face is a little too sweaty to pull that one off.
Recording
your
this
furnace
on.
is really working well.
Yeah, my furnace. Just realized I'm matching Vaughn. Anyways,
Hey, I dressed appropriately for today. I got my war game shirt on, so I figured that was going to be appropriate for.
nice.
Global thermonuclear war.
Yes.
Yeah. I've got my slow roll biking shirt on.
Nice. So like producer Paul and I have been going out and been hunting for myself for like a new bike. So I want a road bike. I've got a mountain bike. It's great for off road.
Oh, okay.
Too heavy. I hate it on the road. And we've been
Yeah.
out looking at bikes. So I found a brand I like. But the frugalness of I don't want to spend that much for a bike just yet.
Yep.
So I've been looking at the same bike, just a few years older and used, and I'm finding the bike I want with everything I want and getting it for like a quarter of the price because I don't care. It's the 2022 edition of the bike. Like
Yeah. What brand?
Trek.
Oh, I love them. That's what I have.
Yeah.
Just I've got an 83
Mhm.
road bike and a 2013 hybrid.
Nice. Yeah.
His is spelled TRECH. Still true.
Timu.
Hold on. Sorry, I had to move. My wife is going to bed.
I'm going for a
Timu.
2022 Trek, the hybrid step through with the little step. So I figured that would be easier. So if I'm in, because most of the time I'm probably going to wear it is going into town with jeans on. So
Yeah.
I'm going for that one. Yeah. That's where it's going to live. Anyway, so welcome to Bike Talk.
Commie light rails to
A little-
bikes. My God, we're going to be on like MSNBC next week.
It's the little known version of Car Talk, the subsidiary podcast.
Wanting trains is not commie talk. It's just liking trains. Okay, can't let the communists have the trains. Okay, libertarians can have trains too. Okay,
It's the fascists you don't want to have the trains.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because the fascists make the trains run on time. That's what I was.
No, they don't. They never did.
No.
They're just full of kids.
They like to claim they did. They
Old
didn't.
Yeah. Fudge records. Our train's going to run on time because it's going to be beautiful. Light rail. It's going to be amazing. Okay.
Hey, I lived in Dallas and the light rail was awesome.
Yep. Too bad it's just illegal here in Indiana. We did all that project, spent all the money to build I-69 down to Evansville and didn't like one line of track. I'm just saying, like a good rail line between the airport to Evansville would have been gangbusters.
Yeah.
You could, when I was in Dallas, it would be quicker for me to take the light rail to downtown Dallas from where I lived in Garland than it was to drive.
Oh yeah, Dallas is a friggin' nightmare traffic wise.
So every
Chicago.
every weekend I drive from Indy to New Albany for yoga, but like that was like a light rail system would be like, listen, 15, 30 minutes, just poof, I'm down there and just do yoga, and it was fun, awesome, do it every day, but I can't.
Whose houses are we going to bulldoze?
I've
Just run them down the median of the interstate.
You wouldn't even need to bulldoze houses in Ohio. I mean,
well, because
why is it?
lives in
Hold on,
Ohio.
hold on.
It's a
Yeah,
myth.
hold on. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Why is it always like when you talk about like who houses are going to bulldoze? But I say like, hey, let's widen I-69. Everyone's like, oh yeah, let's eat up some freaking.
Let's expand I-69 3 more lanes wide. Yeah.
Yeah, just tear this up.
Run the
Anyway.
light rail down between the in the grassy spots between the highways, like
Exactly.
between the two
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we've got the new bus lines in Indy. We can just run the rail down it, right, and get rid of the
Oh
buses.
god, the bus line is so stupid. That is dumb.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so stupid. And then they put that little curb up to stop people
Mhm.
from going over it.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's also to
there,
keep the bus in line, so
Yeah.
it doesn't wobble off.
and I was sitting there and I was going to turn right and go around it so I don't have to go over the bump. Then I realized something. Everyone was driving over the bump. So it was worn down. I was like, so I look like an idiot if I go around and do a U-turn because everyone was going over it. So you know what I did in my Subaru? I went over the bump. Screw it. What?
It couldn't be worse for your car than hitting one of the 2,500 potholes on your way.
Massive potholes.
Way to work.
Yep. I remember we drove to, I forget where I was driving. Driving from Ohio, hit Indiana, and the roads got worse.
Yep.
Then I hit Illinois, and the roads really got worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Highest gas tax in the country for some reason.
You should see from where I'm at, where I cross the county line, and you see this nice paved road. And as soon as it hits that county line, right to gravel.
Yeah, it makes no sense. But anyways, so we should probably get on target here. Are we gonna just weird everybody out? Because I promised politics. I mean, get to it. But I'm also in for talking about we have to have these guys back on to talk about the politics of public transportation. I should be able to have my private vehicle on the roads, no matter if it's a car, motorcycle, or bicycle.
Or e-bike.
Or e-bike, yeah. Or what is it? Enclosed mobility scooter.
Or a velomobile.
Oh yes, yep. See,
so we're gonna talk politics. So we're talking about Canadian election that just happened, right? Is that the politics we're talking
about? So in the channel that this won't age well, I like to collect things. I collect things of people who like to call themselves libertarian, and especially in the year after an election where it's convenient to be libertarian. This is what I call the convenient libertarian time. It's the in between time between elections where Republicans and Democrats alike just go, well, I'm kind of libertarian, and say something, barely off the buffet of libertarianism, but that's the only thing they took off. They just went over and grabbed like a hot dog and then filled it, then went back to the authoritarian buffet. So the bigger, meaner show on the network posted this: libertarians choosing open borders and cheering on the LA rioters from their BML fan club days as their hill to die on is peace dysfunction. You've waved the liberty flag in 2020, celebrating arson and looting as protests during BLM. Now you're back defending mobs battling ICE in LA because apparently it's all about free movement. Nobody forced you to sign up to this fantasy world, but somehow your version of libertarian purity includes unlimited access to public services, schools, ERs, welfare for every unvetted newcomer at taxpayer time. That's not decentralization. It's public buffet of other people's resources. Served buffet style. Libertarian isn't about riding the gravy train on the backs of taxpayers while whining about tyranny. Real liberty means voluntary exchange, not rolling out the welcome mat for anyone with a heartbeat and calling it freedom.
That's not libertarianism. That's
my definition is
So we are rounding up all the wives of the Marines. Make that make sense.
And of course, libertarians like me were out there cheering on BLM, and saying, please burn everything down. Who the heck are these libertarians? And are they in the room with us right now type of shit? So I just love that everyone to the right or to the left of Hitler is somehow, a communist, and it gets a little old after a while because it's like I voted for Gary Johnson. I remember the friggin' people losing their crap over bake the cake type of talk.
Well, I was just gonna. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like I've joked in the chat. The only way this country's going to get communism is by the MAGA bringing it in.
Yes.
The conservatives are doing more to bring what is actual communism to the U.S. than the Bernie Sanders could have ever dreamed of accomplishing.
Which is what's a little surprising facts. It's just like that weird moment when you're arguing someone like the old school, like that's goofy, like alt-right people. You realize, like, wait a minute, these guys are just communists draping themselves in the right-wing language. That's all they are. But no, it is like it is ridiculous, like the idea that, like, yes, you supported the BML in the riot, just like, yes, because as libertarianism, homophobe tearing up private property, that makes no sense. Treading on people's like hopes and dreams and burning down shops, I'm not for that. I am for police accountability? Heck yeah, I am.
Yep.
That's what I want. We like the whole country sat there and watched the government system like try to railroad Kyle Rittenhouse, right? And go after him. It's like, cool, can you do this after every cop shoots somebody too? I want to see this type of trial. This is fun. Question every move that he ever did. This is great. This is awesome. You should do this to everybody.
No, because you only do it to specifically. I'm not going to get into. I'm not. Gonna
come on, Dennis. We had so much fun discussing that one.
You're gonna go down that road. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, as long as you're white, you can get good representation and people care.
That's true too. That's also true.
The guy in New York that brought in what was it? I think he had ammunition in his bag, and they stopped him, and of course found the ammo. And yep, he did get help. But he still got found guilty because it's New York.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Which it's going to happen, and you've got to get up to federal court to get out of any of it. But your life is going to be limbo for like 4 to 6 years.
Yeah,
sucks. You basically, just for having something that is a couple hundred miles the other direction, it's perfectly legal. You're perfectly fine to have it, but in this one little area, you can't. It is, which, like I said, like going to Vaughn's points, which is going to be scary when the pendulum does swing back when MAGA's not in charge. It's like, listen, it's like. You just showed them the playbook. It's like, what do you, and I'm trying to explain to you, it's easy. Like, yes, you have your freedom, you have your Second Amendment, but I'm going to tear off the crap out of everything you need to make any ammo.
Yep.
It's like, what, do you think that's made here?
And they could probably make a stronger it's for security argument than MAGA is making for all the tariffs they're trying to put in.
Yeah. And if the show that like all it takes is me ignoring a judge and and I can just do what I want, so I can easily. It's not me making a database of gun owners; it's this private organization making a database.
Yep, Palantir.
Yeah, that's all I have to do. Awesome.
Just no. The was it the CIO of Palantir just got a promotion to lieutenant colonel.
Oh yeah,
in the military.
Yeah, a whole bunch of tech guys are being brought in like that. I just saw that somewhere.
Yep, one of the guys from I think the VP or somebody, I can't remember if Meta is in the set. There were 4 of them lined up together.
That was one of them.
Palantir, Meta, and it was a couple other
probably I would guess Microsoft and Amazon.
Who was it? Microsoft.
Really?
I'm trying to remember who it was. I just saw it like right before we got on here, and I didn't remember to mark it down as a talking point. So but yeah, it was that's happening. So
they were talking about it on Daily Tech News Show a couple days ago.
I'm sure all the people in the military who are trying to get that position, after working in the Army for 15 years, hoping to get that promotion so they could retire out at a higher level, or just loving the fact that these people were just brought in to take that position right off the street.
Just love it. Just love it. So
Palantir, Meta, OpenAI.
Oh, that's what it was, OpenAI.
Yep.
That's not scary at all as well either.
Oh no.
Yeah, they're not doing anything while they're there. They don't have any access to anything. Sure.
Yeah. They're like, I gotta get trained with it. So Vincent, who's not here tonight, because like you said, he doesn't have that big passion for public, but he did submit this comment to it. So open the borders and making the people coming over American citizens so they pay taxes is fine then, right? Instead of wasting taxpayer dimes on sending militarized government agents to deport people, which costs more money than you save, we could just make them pay taxes according to this. If we volunteer the exchange of citizenship for tax dollars, that's fine, following this logic. I do love that it's peak dysfunction when someone chooses to use their constitutional rights for something they believe in, if it isn't what this post wants to believe in. So wild.
Well, they already pay taxes. That's the point.
Yeah, in fact,
these crazy people who are like, we can't have open borders because we're giving away too much money in services, don't realize that they've done the calculations, they've done the math, they've done the
Mhm.
investigations and the papers. They're actually paying more in services than they're getting out.
Yep.
So they're a net benefit to society
There
financially
are a
and
few
could be better.
there are a few localized areas where immigrants do get a lot more in welfare type stuff but that's not the entire US. That is
Mhm.
some cities in California
Mhm.
and New York City,
Yep.
and that's it.
And
Yep.
and the last time I checked, the same people who are complaining about this want to have federalism. They want to have states being in charge. They want to be able to say, well, this person from this state can't tell this person from that state what to do, but they sure think that they can when it comes to immigration, can't they?
Well, it's just like the Civil War. Both sides were for state rights. They just had different ideas of which state rights they wanted and which ones they didn't think were right.
Well,
I mean, Calhoun wanted to force everybody to enforce the Fugitive Slavery Act, but then he claims he wants state rights.
Well, the whole premise that the libertarians in quotes make when they say that they don't support open borders is a completely insane one. The basic premise of it is, and they won't admit this, but it is what it is that their rights are more important than anybody else's, and you don't get to have your rights if my rights are being violated, even though you're not the one violating them. So it's the same thing as to say, their argument's the same as if you say we can't have, since we have government paying for medical care right now, right? We have the ACA in place. We have these rules that, you have to take in people who get hurt. So the government is now paying for medical care. Well, some people who get that medical care are people who have been shot. So in order to stop that and save money, we need to get rid of all the guns.
Yeah.
That's the exact same argument that they're making.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It follows the same line. Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
You want to see the libertarian argument? Go get the Brian Kaplan's Open Borders book. It's it's one of those books, like it's kind of a comic I forget what you call it. It's the
graphic novel.
That's it. That's the word I couldn't think of. Yeah, it's a graphic novel. What blows my mind is I see leftists now suggesting it.
But
I was like,
wait, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
I've never understood why leftists. I've never understood why open borders was such a scary thing to people, especially people that want to come here and work. Because from a business aspect, you want more customers. And last time I checked, if you're working here and having a family, they're going to spend money. They're going to want to make money to spend money. All the immigrant kids I grew up with wanted all the same stuff we wanted in school. So that's more customers. And then you don't deal with tariffs because they're all right here in the US. So
the left was against it because
of unions.
They wanted to protect the wages of the unions.
But they were for the jobs that no one wanted. Jobs no one still wants. I mean, they had that one.
It still depresses wages. So if you bring it in and you've got these people working for less, then there's more of a pool of that type of person to bring in and maybe bring them up into a job that isn't necessarily as demeaning as picking our food, but that could depress the wages that the unions are trying to fight to maintain the protectionism. So it's their version of the tariffs, right? It's their protectionism that they want in place, but it's just around the labor market.
Yep.
Okay. So it's like, it's just a labor protection tariff. But if cheap labor is out there, then it's easier to start a business, easier to go do different things for everyone else.
Right.
Yep.
But the left doesn't care about that. The left cares about protecting.
Could you do it?
Unions.
Yeah, because you do it on your own.
Yeah, I'm starting to see some shifting on that. It's funny because on TikTok, the leftists are now starting to sound more libertarian than the people who profess themselves to be libertarians, especially on when it comes to the housing market, when it comes to immigration, tariffs even, which is absolutely hilarious.
Individual rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's individual rights. They've always been strong on that in general.
They waffle.
Yeah. On some of them they do, but overall,
talking points, but they don't necessarily believe it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to housing, they're actually starting to sound like Tom Woods 10 years ago. and I don't know what he's talking about now in that regard. But
who knows what Tom was talking about right now.
Refraining from that comment.
Here's another thing about the immigration thing that I really find funny, especially from these people, is that most of the time the people who are complaining about this, and they're really right-wing populists, but they don't want to admit that they're right-wing populists. They want to use the word libertarian because they were told by Lou Rockwell 30 years ago that it was cool, that's what they were, when it wasn't. So there was this whole conversation back then at the time, when Rothbard and Rockwell were trying to figure out how they're going to make things work and kind of break away from libertarianism, created the paleo-libertarian movement. And the main thing that they found that the right and the libertarians had disagreements with was immigration, because libertarians favored open immigration, whereas the right did not. And when a bunch of libertarians asked this guy at a conference they were having why they should support the government setting policies that violate the property rights of individuals, which is what immigration does. I'll get into that in a minute. Where did they get the right to do that? And he just said, well, it's sovereignty. So basically what he's saying is that the government owns all the land. They allow people to rent their land through the use of property taxes. That's your rent. And they can still have ultimate power over what you do. When a government, in order to manage immigration, you have to be able to tell every single person who lives in this country, citizen or not, who they can have on their property, who they can hire, who they can sell their property to or rent their property to, who they can marry and live with. And if the government can tell you where you can live, how you can live, who you can live with, and who you can hire and who you can sell your property to, you don't have property rights. So they are in effect supporting a position that's completely the opposite of supporting private property rights. It's elimination of private property rights, but they can't make that connection in their brains because they just want the brown people to stay away. That's why they're choosing these covenant solutions, right? These covenants, cities and things like that, where you sign an agreement that you have these rules in place that are completely violation your civil rights. Well, you agreed to it. That's like, yeah, but if you change the rules, well, I'm already living here, and somebody changes the rules.
Well, then also, what about your kids? They didn't agree.
Yeah, if I die, my kid takes over, and he doesn't agree with that, then what? You're going to kick him out. So obviously, he doesn't own the land. If you have the right to kick him out of his property.
Yep.
You think we really want the Amish version of an HOA ruling our lives?
An Amish HOA. That's hilarious.
That's honestly is what it ends up being. And
or the Taliban version of it.
Yeah. I'm starting to hear it in conservative evangelical circles. The idea of the covenant city ideas. Like they're starting to push, like some of them are starting to be open to that.
That's fine. I mean, the thing is, that's
feudalism.
It is.
It is.
And it does get to freedom of association. And if you want to be a bunch of silly people that want to live inside a compound and stuff like that, no matter what race you are and things like that, that's fine. That's the beautiful thing about this country. Go live
go do that.
Yeah, go do that somewhere in Montana.
But don't pretend like it gives you freedom of property.
Yeah, or don't. Or, I mean, the thing is this. I mean, if you really want to be like, the thinking that, this is going to give us all the freedom we want, no problem. Go down and take a look, see what's going on in Utah. Warren Jeffs and all these other people who had these little covenant areas and things like that. Look at the abuse. Look at all these things that are going on.
Yep.
Because you've got to manage that. Yep. And if something happens in those covenant cities, don't sit there and just be like, well, we were lied to. No, dude, you if you're that dumb going into it, thinking, this is not going to happen with us. You're stupider than I thought.
Yeah.
So if you like the idea of what your little covenant city is its own little government, and you're separate from the United States and ruling, right? They can't rule over you. You have your own little country inside of the United States. Ask the Indians how that went for them.
Oh, it still works for them. The only way they'd be able to make it work is, guess what? We're going to put cheap gas in a casino here.
Yeah.
Reinhold, I know when you were a kid, that's the term they use. We don't use that term anymore.
Indigenous people. Ask them how.
It's not like he started doing the sound, and
Also, to you, Brian, I know when you were a kid, you could do that too. We don't do that now.
Oh well, we
used
could sit. Instead of crisscross applesauce, it was another term for it. And I remember hearing the person say crisscross applesauce. I was like, what does applesauce have to do with this? I don't remember. Dump it in your
Well,
lap.
don't you remember, Brian? We used to play ranch, ranch hands and indigenous people.
Yes,
Remember
exactly. Ranch hands and indigenous people, or smear the person of a different orientation.
Oh my god, that's problematic.
Trust me, there was a lot of problems back in third grade.
This is what happens when you bring Gen X in.
I know.
Oh, here we go.
I know.
Well, the problem is that all the bullying that we went through when we were younger, and we thought we'd help society get rid of, we're just bringing right back into our politics.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It actually, the funny thing is that the stuff that Trump is doing is like, you could play that out of an 80s bully movie, come up, pick sand in the person's face, and do all those things. And it's the same behavior.
His politics come out of the 1860s. So
I was talking to my wife, and we were laughing about people think that Trump is really smart. And she kind of jokingly said, well, he's obviously smart. He's able to fool all these people into giving him all this power and his money and everything. And I said, well, do you think that in Back to the Future 2 that Biff is smart? Because it's really all he is. I mean, technically that character was written based off of Donald Trump. He's just a big bully who gets his way because everybody's scared of him. Yeah. It's not that it's not that he's smart. He's just a bully.
I still subscribe to the whole idea that a fool and his money are soon parted. And yes, Trump's had money parted from him several times. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But the thing is that, he is definitely a bully, but a lot of people just flock to him. So he's got something that just draws people to say.
Do you remember the bullies in high school? They were usually the jocks who had all the girls and they were real popular, but they were bullies to the people who were a little off or different or weird.
Trump he's funny and he's authentic. People know exactly what they're getting. And
you're describing every bully that I grew up with.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm just saying. But that's the thing, though. He's not every bully.
No,
but he also just knows how to work the press.
Yeah, I take benefit in the idea that it is that kind of pseudo cult of personality with him, and all these like MAGA guys are like feel comfortable in trying to become the bully until they realize when he's out of the picture, like you don't have that protection anymore. We're not going to be able to do that. Yeah.
He says what people want to hear, and people don't critically examine what he's saying. He can lie through his teeth. Sometimes in the same sentence, he will contradict himself. And as long as what he's saying is what the people he's reaching to want to hear, they will believe it and go with it.
Yep. I would like to actually this happened last day or two. So a friend of ours, who is deeply into MAGA. That's basically her personality at this point. Not had the greatest life since we hung around with her years ago, and hard times type of thing like that. But she's wrapped up in it because it's the only time I think she's felt validation, probably in the last 20, 30 years, that my person is right. And they're holding on to it now. And, this gets back to the whole Obama low information voter thing. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a lot of information, but you're sure that person's right, and they're right because they've said the right things to you, you're going to hold on to that for dear life. Because what happens when that disappears and you're wrong?
Right.
Well,
then everything that you've been that you were wrong about, and you're wrong about this. Well. Yeah.
I remember I used to say about AOC, she's really good at pointing out a lot of problems. She just has some really crazy solutions. Well, Trump's the same way.
Yeah.
He's really good at finding the pain points and pointing out the pain points for a vast swath of voters. And then his solutions, they aren't good solutions, but he's the only one offering solutions.
Yeah. I view that. Yeah, AOC does point out like a very good out problems very well, and I think in about 10 years she'll be amazing if she if she listens to Fetterman. Fetterman 2028. Fetterman 2028. Fetterman 2028. Calling it Fetterman 2028.
Fetterman.
What I've always said is that the left is good at recognizing the problem but coming with really bad solutions, and the right is really good at just ignoring or pretending the problem is something else.
Yes.
Right? Like it's not immigration's not why you have the situation you have now. So fixing immigration doesn't help you, even though somebody's telling you that that's why you have this problem. Right? That's kind of how the right works, is that they there's a problem, but they misidentify what the cause is. The left can identify that this is the cause, but their solution is always let's get the government involved.
Well,
which is almost never the real good solution for it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna say what drove everybody into Trump's arms was Obama and Hillary.
The liberals.
You're gonna cling to their guns and their religion, and you guys are a bunch of deplorables, like Ron said there. That's what drove a lot of people into Trump. And
but here's the problem: the same way that Trump is identified of saying that there were some good people or a lot of fine people at that Charlottesville rally, he got a tag for that, and it was wrong. It's the same with that deplorables line. Because that deplorables line was for the people, the 10% of the people who follow him, who are those people who are deplorables. Right. She wasn't saying anybody who voted for Trump is. She said there's a certain portion of the people who support him that are really bad people, and that was right.
Well, there are a certain group of people who voted for Obama who were pretty terrible too. I mean, there's a lot of things here, and I know you and I disagree on this, but it was honestly, and Dennis, you can get into how much it is based on that snippet of the speech, stuff like that resonated with a lot of people in 2016. I remember people who got fired up when that was done, and of course, we've talked ad nauseum about Hillary gets out and visits Michigan and Ohio and stuff like that. If she doesn't do that, if she cops a plea to the BlackBerry fund and the mail server fund, we have none of this happen. Not that it would be any better. We probably would have invaded Iran in 2018, but
either way, we invaded Iran. Okay.
All right. We're invading Iran right now. Anybody else enjoying watching Vance trying to polish the message for the base, and then 2 minutes later Trump says the exact opposite? Like, it's happened so many times. It's just so funny.
But it's okay.
We don't want regime change. We don't want regime change. We're not trying to get regime change. Trump tweets, regime change,
make Iran great again. Which, okay, I'm actually kind of a little bit for it, not the Shah, but
my only problem with that is when you say that acronym a certain speed, or maybe not as carefully as you might want to say it comes across a little like saying something else.
MIGA.
Make
I, long I, not the short I.
As long as it's not the hard R, which is really all it is. This whole
make Iran great again. Republicans. There we go.
Terrible. No, yeah.
And this just got demonetized. Congratulations.
Demonetized.
I think it got demonetized when we turned on the mics.
Yeah, pretty good. No.
Like they were going to charge us. They're going to charge.
Well, that's the thing. No. Like when it comes to like monetization, monetization hates Spangle and his name. This channel has never been monetized, but the Twitch channel has always been. Like, it was easy. They've never taken our monetization away. They've never banned us. Twitch loves us. It's YouTube that hates us. And it's because it's Spangle's name versus my name.
Spangle. Who wants to pay money for a Spangle? God,
I know, right? Exactly.
Yeah, don't put it under Walgamuth, although maybe that would work out pretty well. The sudden desire with German and stuff like that. Wait, we got Vaughn on here too.
Yeah.
My mom's. I come from a family of Brugners. I think I can.
Pass. There we go.
If you go back to my original last name, Wolfensberger.
Oh man, I don't know.
We went from commie talk now to.
All right, welcome to Argentina talk. Anyway,
well, my ancestors moved here before the Civil War, so we're safe on that regard.
The German Civil War? Which one? No, hang on.
No, the U.S. Civil War.
Civil War.
My parents immigrated here, through Argentina from Germany in that route, right?
So your families came the legal way.
Because the legal way is the same way as they're doing it now, except that
Yeah, the legal way back then was just show up.
Yes,
right. Yeah, that's why
that
like,
was such a terrible time. Blah blah blah. Yeah, we
My
added how
parents
much
came
to
the
the
legal way.
population?
that's why I do get kind of like annoyed, like someone like especially in the liberty aspect, where they keep saying like they need to come here legal. Like, what the does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Now this awful system that we have, just because we want it limited and racially because different areas.
Look at all the people that were coming the legal way, and now if they show up to their hearing, they get arrested.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have your guns. You just have to do it the legal way.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. The argument I keep hearing is, we'll try to get into Australia or New Zealand or Europe, and they're right about that. You try to go into those countries without that. Yeah. That's kind of like saying what you just said, Dennis. You know, it's like this. We'll try to bring a gun into Ireland.
Yeah.
Doesn't. Okay,
but
great.
That's why
it's like we don't. Do you want socialized medicine like Europe? No. Then why do you want immigration like Europe?
Yeah. But that's why the U.S. has historically always been better at integrating brand new immigrants into our culture, into our society than Europe. You go to Europe, you've got people who are third generation. Their grandparents immigrated there, and they still aren't a part of society.
Correct. Yep.
You don't see that in the U.S. for the most part. Yeah. But they're trying to bring that here now.
Take a look at Japan.
You might want to ask some people from Ireland or from because back in the day, I mean,
no, back in the day, you're right. There was a lot of problems, but I'm saying over time we're better at it than Europe. But now we're trying to bring the European system in. Now we're trying to make it like them, or MAGA is. They want the European immigration system
because they like it. They like that specific one. It's like you can't pick and choose. Like the left wants to say, okay, let's bring in socialized medicine of there. So okay, well they have these other things too. No, we can't do that. We're different. It's like this country was built on the very idea that if you're not happy where you're at, you can somewhere else to go.
Right.
And this country was built on that. People come. The greatest thing is when you start talking about they don't believe that birthright citizenship is what we believe it to be. It's really only you can only have birthright citizenship if both of your parents are already citizens. And it's like, first of all, that was always the case, so you didn't need to have the 14th Amendment in order to enforce that. Second of all, do you want to know how many people we would be kicking out of this country if that were the case, that you had to have both parents be citizens before you were a citizen as birthrights?
How many military kids
of this country?
How many military kids and military people would be gone?
Well, we were told for years. We were told for years that's the military was getting people into the military by saying, hey, you're here, you're kind of like iffy. Just join the military. We'll take care of all of it. We'll also we'll give you citizenship for enlisting and fighting for our country. And those people are the ones they're going after now because they're easy. We know where they are.
We know where they are.
That's the whole thing about this. All of this is Stephen Miller just trying to get numbers for the midterms.
They want to deport more people than Obama did. In his last year of Obama's term, they deported 1 million people. I believe it was like 1 million or something. And Stephen Miller and the Trump administration absolutely want to be able to say they deported more than Obama did his last, or not Obama, I meant Biden did his last year. And they're running. Obama took out most of the easy, the low hanging fruits.
Criminals?
The wet foot, dry foot Cuba, which was the one that I never understood.
Oh yeah, that too. That too, which is awful.
Well, Biden had also given the whole problem with people coming in here and then like sneaking in and then applying for asylum, which is completely legal to do, right?
Which is the way you did it.
It didn't look good. So what Biden did was he set up a program where you could, from outside of the country, actually apply for asylum, which was never allowed. It was never legally allowed to do it. So he finagled it a way to do it by making an app or whatever. 500,000 people have taken advantage of that during his term. So that was 500,000 people in this country who had gotten in here through that program. And with the stroke of a pen, Trump made them all illegal. They're here illegally. And that's they say, just follow the law and you can come here legally and we will support that. And he's, with a stroke of a pen, suddenly made them overnight illegal. And the MAGA is like, get rid of them. They shouldn't be here. They shouldn't have been here. It's like, they were here legally.
Yeah, they're rounding up the spouses of Marines, active duty Marines.
The Afghani interpreters that
Yeah.
escaped the Taliban.
Oh, they're all screwed.
Served over.
They're sending them
with our
back
guys.
to Afghanistan.
Yeah, I
Like they don't know who these people are. They're not going to do very well.
No, they're not going to live getting
them.
off the plane. They're going to say, "Oh, come here, we got a special place for you over here. Just bang, 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 and be done." I think, and we've talked about this, that step by step, there are a lot of normies that are just getting pushed over the edge.
Yeah.
My wife on the whole immigration issue went from not really caring much about what was going on to being fiercely anti-Trump.
Yeah.
Just on the immigration thing alone.
And
we talked about that.
Yeah.
We're starting to see more organized pushes against ICE, especially in California, but it's going to start spreading where you have the fire department, the police department, all of the local politicians, all of the people, they see ICE is coming and they start in one city, they literally blockaded the road so ICE couldn't come in and then force them to leave.
I love the story of the tow truck drivers going around.
Truck drivers,
Yes.
I'm like, oh,
illegally parked.
I want to see the local police start arresting the people who are out there enforcing with their masks on and no obvious uniform,
no badges.
I don't know who you are. Arrest those suckers.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry if you're going into downtown LA wearing a mask. Now, luckily they haven't been wearing red or blue. I mean, for them, but
I thought MAGA doesn't like masks. I thought MAGA was making masks illegal. Unless
you're 60 times all that carbon dioxide you're breathing in, it's just going to kill these people. So
they said that the doxing of ICE employees was up 400%. And someone asked the question, well, if the number of doxing that was going on was like 2 agents per year and going up to 400%, okay, we're up to 8. There's no number behind it. It's just they did a press release and said it's up 400%. So
they were never doing it without the mask. If you go back and look, I want to know show me the video of them going in without masks day one. Because what happens is a lot of these people are really just like Proud Boys and those guys who have wanted to do this. And now
they're
there was this one raid where they did where Homeland Security's like, well, that wasn't us. That must be Border Patrol. Border Patrol's like, that wasn't us. They were just guys who dressed up and went out and took down people with fake badges, right? Who's to say that's not happening?
Right.
Well,
they have been like
GTA 5 where those guys were rounding people up and put them in their van.
Yeah. All it takes is a couple of crews to put on like the suit and decide to start knocking over convenience stores because everyone's just going I don't want a federal charge and just back off.
Yep.
Because they don't know anybody. Because they did that with TSA agents, right?
There was like 3 cases that were real recent where somebody doing that held one woman hostage and raped her. Then another person had done it and stole from some store or something like that because he was saying he was with. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 stories of that just off the news wire from the last week.
That's already
the LA superintendent released a press release saying that they had to prevent 3 or 4 different people who claimed to be ICE but would not prove it from either entering the school. One of them tried to get a bus driver to pull over and talk to him. Another one went after some students, just these lone men in masks claiming to be ICE.
Yep. Just did it. Just quick search. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there are people who are dressing up as fake ICE agents. It's already happened.
Yeah, and of course, the one thing I'm still confused about this: we're arresting American citizens.
Yes,
and people there are a lot of people in the MAGA right who are like, well, that's just that you shouldn't hang around with these people if they're illegal. If they're American citizens, they're not illegal.
Yeah. But a lot of times they're not like technically breaking the law because just because they're here, if you're in the country, if you cross the border without approval, that's technically not illegal. It's being here without documentation.
It is
that's the
a
illegal part.
civil violation, not a criminal violation.
Right. It's like with the marijuana laws where it was like, they can't get you for smoking marijuana because that's not something that can be illegal because of our rights. But having marijuana possession of marijuana is what got you in trouble,
Right.
right? So that was always the bend that they try to do.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating because it's like they say that they just want to get the people who came here illegally out because they're lawbreakers, and it's like, did you ever smoke pot in your life? Because if you've smoked pot at all, even now, even today, it's still illegal federally.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
we all
You're breaking the law, and you're breaking a law, a higher level law than these people are.
No,
This is like a traffic ticket.
It's more basic than that, Dennis. I mean, we're all with all the federal overreach and the state overreach, we're all essentially committing 3 felonies. It's a 3 felony book, 3 felonies a day.
Yeah.
We should go through all the minutia stuff. I mean, have you ever written a check and then suddenly you realize, oh shit, there's I got to transfer money over into it or something like that? You overdraw. That's technically check fraud.
Yeah.
So that can be classified as a felony. Now it's normally not.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, I've just still catch myself these people that are just absolutely obsessed with getting people out here, but this gets back to their identity and that my life has sucked, and it's sucked because of I can't get a job.
It's not because of me.
My
life sucks not because of me. It can't be because of me. It's got to be somebody else.
Well,
it's their fault.
Somebody's
telling you it's their fault, so it sounds better.
It's got to be someone who come to this country with nothing and barely speaks the language. It obviously can take my job. That's what's
Well,
and the best part of it is literally, it's literally technically fascism.
If they could take your job, doesn't that say something about you?
Not your job.
Well, one person to get back
try
to
a little harder.
Yeah, one person to get back to is that they had health issues and things like that, and that's why they couldn't work. Which we won't get to how they're getting their income now.
Do you remember this?
I'm all for
this old theory. There's this old theory in U.S. politics. In I don't know when it kind of fell out of favor and we didn't talk about it anymore. But it's this old thought process, and that was innocent until proven guilty.
Oh shit!
You remember that old quaint thing that we used to believe?
Well, we also used to say that you had to have what's the Latin term for it, Vaughn? You probably know where you wanted to commit a crime.
Intent.
Yeah, intent. But there's a little
mens rea.
Mens rea. That's it.
Yeah, you knew it was a crime and you were going to commit it. I knew that it was a crime to do this, and I'm going to steal something, and that's what they would go after you for.
Right. But so everybody's like, well, we got to keep the dangerous people out of the country. I'm like, yeah, but if you're assuming they're dangerous and they have to prove to you they're not, then you're treating them as guilty.
Well, and what's going to stop?
They prove themselves innocent.
What's going to stop the next administration? Which, if things go the way they are, I guarantee you the GOP is not getting the next presidential election. What's going to stop? What's going to stop them from declaring all militias are dangerous people and need to be rounded up?
And guns are dangerous. They should not. You should not have them. It's a health hazard, and they've already made that claim. I mean, it's not like I'm making some weird, crazy comparison by saying this stuff. They've already gone this route. They just got stopped because people were like thinking straight. And they've made the precedent there. You can go do it. Executive order. You don't need to have.
And Doge set the precedent. And Doge set the precedence that you can just fire the entire government. Yeah. That was one thing that used to happen in the beginning of this country a lot. Every new administration would fire everybody, and then they'd appoint all their they'd appoint all the people that helped them run the what did they call it? It was the patronage system. Yeah. And we got away from that for a reason.
Because,
and
you know why?
Now we're bringing it back.
It was the first populist president in the United States.
Brian Hill was there. He's going to tell
who
us.
Brought it in. And it was
Abraham
Lincoln. He was going to be impeached, and he didn't get impeached by one. He didn't get removed from office by one vote.
Yeah.
Right. That's how close it came for him to be removed. But it was like a first populist president. He loved patronage, and that was the whole thing, right? So it was underneath him that everybody went, okay, we've got to stop this, because they realized, we need people doing these jobs that are competent, right? Yep. So we need to make sure we're hiring competent people and not just people who agree with our politics.
Yeah.
and we've got to make the assumption that these people will work, irregardless of who the administrator is, and just do their jobs. It's just a job.
Yep.
And so that's why we got that in place, because it made sense. And from that, we developed from getting rid of patronage, getting rid of slavery, and being open borders, we developed the greatest country in the world. And look what happened. Look what's happened since we started fighting against those types of things. We've just stagnated.
Yeah.
You know, we put in the first real immigration laws in the 20s. It really took effect in the 30s. And they were like horribly written, like IQ tests that didn't make any sense. You couldn't understand. It was horrible stuff that we did, quotas and everything else. And then slowly over time, we just start to stagnate. We just don't go any higher, don't go any better. Just bit.
And we still have
to make
quotas.
America great again. If you want to make America great again, let's go back to the time when we allowed people to come here and live the belief of what we were selling of a country where you can be free, you can do what you need to do, you can make something of yourself. You're not going to be tied down by class, you're not going to be tied down by who you voted for, any of that stuff. You're going to be able to do what you want to do and be successful at it, based off your merits.
Kind of like a shining city on a hill type of thing.
Yeah.
We built our I'm not a big fan of that analogy, but I have reasons for that. But as a Baptist pastor, that is a very loaded term that goes back a long way. But the U.S. technological advantage is because we have made it so easy for people to come here, get educated, and then get a job in the field they're in, and we're losing that. We are having a massive brain drain right now. Germany is now snagging a bunch of our academics.
Well, they've learned from
us doing it.
And they all have German names already because they came from their grandparents who came here after World War II.
Exactly. Is the main reason why guys always try to tell people like there's so many different people from India in tech and medical field here is because they can come here, learn, and not have to be, regulated to a outdated caste system or nepotism from their home country. They could just come here, work, and then and be accelerated up to what they need and want to be, instead of being back there. Yeah.
I had this conversation in a local chatter group a couple days ago, where somebody was complaining about this one location. It was a ice cream place or whatever, and said they were getting horrible treatment. The prices had gone up, and then he found out that the guy working there told them that the tips that they would give, the owner took. Right. So there was complaints about it. They started arguing about this back and forth, and someone made the comment. Let me guess, the owner is Indian. And somebody called them out and said, "Why are you making this racist comment?" And they're like, "That's not racist." I'm like, you just made these insinuation that Indians are shifty and steal from their, and run it. That's completely wrong. What are you talking about? That's not right. They don't believe that that's racist. They did anything wrong or said anything wrong. We're going back to that time that when I grew up, and Brian can back me up on this. When I grew up, my grandfather, great man, loved him. He was a kind soul to everybody he ever met, but he had no problem using the N-word all the time. It was something where they were seen as Black people were seen as different as those people.
It's definitely becoming more normalized. There was some hetero pride rally somewhere down south, and they were talking about how great this town was, and one of them said, and there's not even any Black people here. Like, they're not hiding it as much as they were.
Right. Well, they always thought it. They didn't do it. But I do want to rewind here, Dennis, because you and I were both around then back in the olden times, when we used to ride our dinosaurs to school and stuff like that. I tell that to my grandkids. It's funny. I still get about a 50% take on that going, you rode a dinosaur to school?
He could afford the dinosaurs.
No, I could have. Dude, I grew up poor. Okay? Yeah, I grew up.
Dennis had to ride a chicken.
Yeah. Hand me down. Chicken's a hand me down dinosaur. There we go.
Yep.
Oh, the chickens back then. The chickens back then were a little bigger than they are now. So.
Yeah. But, I mean, the thing is this, that it wasn't. You have to understand that Italians, Greeks, all Jordanians, everybody that was even adjacent to Europe was still looked down upon.
Yeah.
I think the neighborhood.
Well, they weren't considered white.
Yeah.
No,
they
yeah,
weren't. Not one bit.
Southern and Eastern Europeans were not
No.
considered white.
Yeah.
So Czechoslovakia.
And the best part, I was reading the Guarded Gate, which is a great book. Anybody who's listening to this,
Yeah, I've read it.
Great book.
Yeah,
there's a great point in there where they were saying that there was a time when during the early 1920s, when they were starting to get to this point of wanting to keep people out. One of the people that they wanted to keep out were the Eastern Jews.
Yeah.
And it was like the Western Jews who had come here and who were more westernized, right? They didn't have some of the religious things that the Eastern Jews had, were on board with keeping them out because those are the wrong kind of Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is crazy.
It's always
crazy.
It's just an other thing. It's like we don't like those other people, and it's we're supposed to be libertarians. Libertarians are supposed to be about individualism. This person who is on the left of me, no matter what his race was, where he was born, what side of a line he was born on, who his parents were, it doesn't matter. It's what is in his soul and what his thought process is and what he wants to do. That's what matters. And when we stop going away from that and believe that the immigration thing, we believe in all the stuff that the covenant, things,
community,
that's completely away from the individualism that libertarianism is based off of.
Yeah.
But
so like the Facebook, like I don't know if you watched some of the Facebook posts from Caitlin Clark the last two games, where it's like, look at all these people, and they kept calling it thug ball and really like getting super racist about these black people. And a lot of people in the comments like, there's a lot of blonde hair white women fighting on in this court. That's I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
I was gonna say
every clip I've seen in the past 2 weeks, I'm not even into basketball. I'm not from Indiana, but I'm getting inundated with them. Every clip I've seen has been this ginormous blonde girl taking Caitlin out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, Sabrina, I can't remember her name, but she came up and body checked her after. Well, I mean, the thing is this: Caitlin's got this thing where they go after her eyes. This is the second year. I mean, last year and this year, somebody went up and clawed her, and I'm stunned. Okay, yes, I mean the WNBA. I understand the ladies like to have, I mean, some guys like to have long fingernails, things like that. But that's a game where there's a lot of risk, of that.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that there isn't.
With the face mask on, like
But,
some of the NBA guys have the face mask. They put that little face mask on,
or the goggles.
The goggles, the horse goggles,
yeah. And so I just,
it's frustrating because for years we would call people and say, "Look, I can like." Chris Cantwell. I said years ago, like this guy's racist. Oh no, he's not. And they would defend him. He's not. Stephen Molyneux. Oh, he's not. He's just saying this. You don't believe blah blah blah. You're just calling him racist because that's what you. And then they come out and find out they are racist because we recognize, a lot of people recognize based off the dog whistles they use, the way they're making their arguments. You can tell what somebody's thinking, and there's a whole group of people trying to say, no, you can't do that, you can't defend it, you have to just, and it's like, let people recognize what's going on, because if you don't, they're just going to be more overt, and you're going to accept it more, and it's going to the position where it is now, where we have the problem that we fought so hard to get out of in the Libertarian Party, where we were tied in with the John Birch Society. And we were just seen as Birchers and Reaganites and things like that. And it's like, no, those people are crazy. We're not them. And so when we try to stop that, we're getting called gatekeepers. Right. We've got people like this person you mentioned, whose name I'm not going to say, making terrible arguments and acting like it's the default libertarian position when it never historically has been, for good reason. And he doesn't recognize the flaws of his own argument, because he's not critically thinking about his own argument, because he's not that able to do. He's not able to do that.
Well, it's
not part of his DNA.
It's more about being on a side than it is about having the right, being, what's the word?
Audience capture.
Yeah, audience capture is definitely what's going on, but then being
well, in that specific situation. But I also think at some point you have to really believe that there are people who are beneath you.
Yeah,
and that's where that idea comes from. That's
Well,
where that mindset is.
Audience
driving
capture is very self-reinforcing. Once you get in that loop, you're just
Mhm.
going to go worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's pride, envy.
Yeah. Sloth when it comes to not being able to stand up against your people. The one thing I do have to bring up is the one thing when we were talking about, the person being racist about India, and of course I'm thinking of Akash Singh, the comedian.
Mhm.
If you ever seen his stand up, and he gets a lot of the Indian community to come to his shows,
Mhm.
and he goes, he looks at the guy, and goes, hotels, motels, or convenience stores, or liquor store. Are you a liquor store, or are you? And he nails them 95% of the time.
Mhm.
So
What
I
type
mean,
of entrepreneur are you? Yeah, basically.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
but here's the fun part is that there are places around here that are obviously run by people from India, but there's also Sikhs that are there, and the Sikhs
Yes.
get confused with the Muslims, and it's
Yep.
like,
oh my god,
because it's like you can't determine what kind of racist you are at this point, it's like, or what kind of bigot you are.
Man,
but
Sikhs, that's such a cool religion. Makes Christianity look so lame.
I have never met a terrible Sikh person. They've always been exceptionally nice. And damn, if you ever get fed by one, just watch out. It's like going into an Italian grandmother's house. You look thin. You need to eat. Go eat.
Oh,
eat.
I got to
the
know
world's
the
largest
owner
kitchen,
of a.
right?
I got to.
The world's largest free kitchen is run by Sikhs.
Yes,
in India.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to know the owner of an Indian restaurant real well, and we would every time we go in there, the food was they would just take care of you. It was just so nice. Those people were great, and I don't know, it's just I see these people, and I think that's a lot of the problem. And it's a whole different sidetrack, but people are complaining about how colleges are indoctrinating their kids or whatever, because the kids go off to the college and they come home with these weird ideas. And it's not that they're being indoctrinated, they're just being exposed to things that you didn't want them exposed to. And they're realizing, hey, maybe my parents were wrong. Maybe these aren't bad people. I met a guy.
Well, and a lot of them already know their parents are wrong. They're just looking for a way to prove it.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not using the word no in the definitive sense, but just how many kids are looking for a reason.
Yeah.
But it's like you realize, hey, maybe your mind, if teachers could indoctrinate kids that easily, we'd have great test scores. We'd have people learning all this knowledge that they're not doing, not turning in their homework. They're not getting good grades, but they're going to listen to you about.
They're more.
I can force your son to put on a dress, but I can't make him turn his homework in.
Yeah.
They are far more indoctrinated by their peers than their teachers.
Right. Yes. And the thing is, of course, this gets back to the whole misapplied quote Churchill or whoever. If you're 20 and not a liberal, you have no heart type of thing. Naturally, kids are going to be more liberal because they come out of high school thinking that life is like high school. We should just take care of everybody, and there's enough money, and just go ahead and take the money from them and give it to this person, and they're going to spend it, right? They're not going to do anything terrible with it, are they? And it takes that 20s going through and watching yourself get screwed by government and other people, stuff like that.
Plus, most kids raised in super conservative households are not raised like the way they are raised. The way that the household is run is very much like an authoritarian left-wing government.
Yes.
So their concept of and then they don't know what freedom is.
Right. Yeah.
And then they get their first paycheck and they want to know who the FICA guy is while he's getting all of their money.
Right.
I'm gonna go beat the shit out of FICA.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where they are conservative only with the bumpers on, and when the bumpers come off, usually in college or when they move out, then everything else starts spiraling control. I think
they're not raised to be independent.
Right. Yeah. It's like a lot of different people was like, well, how did it's that typical conservative spiral when they get to college. The parents aren't there, the bumpers. They didn't teach them the correct bumpers. They lose their faith. They do all these different things, and they just spiral out of control. And like, how did this happen? It's like because you didn't let them experience life. You have it completely controlled.
Because you told I went to Christian college, and there were so many people. They didn't know what they believed. They just they're like, well, my parents say, my pastor says, no, you got to know what you believe. And that was always my way of approaching it whenever I teach is I go ahead, disagree with me. I know I'm wrong. I just don't know where I'm wrong.
Let's have it. I don't know everything. I don't know what I don't know, and I'm willing to have a conversation. No, I'm not all right. I'm perfect. I'm completely okay with being wrong. I think some of the better quotes from One Piece is like, if I lost any respect because admitting that I was wrong, I had no respect to begin with.
Right.
Yeah. And I forget,
being wrong is how you learn, right? I mean, that's part of the critical thinking that I am wholly in
I forget where
you need to take out your own ideas and you need to re-examine them and test them yourself. Every so often, it's got to be something you do.
Yeah, I saw someone talking about a study that was done recently. They found the companies that are the most trusted are the ones who screw up and then fix it. Actually do something to fix the problem, and they are far more trusted by their customer base than the companies who never made a mistake.
We have a good example of that. We talked about on this show not too long ago. No Man's Sky. The game had made all these promises, couldn't meet them because it was impossible because the studio was screwing them over. It was a small group, and they were making these weird, wild promises, and they had to push it. They couldn't push the deadline back, so they just pushed it out as it was, and it wasn't what they promised. And they got called out on it, and people were mad. And instead of saying, "Well, okay, well, we got our money, we're going to quit and go do something else," they spent years not getting paid and fixed that game and made it what it thought it would be. And now people are like, they trust it more than any. They're like, we're going to go back and play that game because these people actually cared about it.
Correct. Yeah. And if they promise they're going to do something and fix something, they're 9 times they're going to believe it.
They earned back the trust that a lot of people would just walked away from.
Yeah, but the low information voter is still going to buy Madden 26 and just keep going.
Right.
Or before this episode gets too long in the truth, let's wrap it up with a quick talking because like the whole thing, I want to wrap it up with the thing from the Bigger Meter show. So if you need to pay taxes to have all these different things, is taxation not theft?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what happens in a parallel tax base? Because an HOA has fees.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, taxes aren't great, but right now in Ohio, the Republicans are working to defund the police, and they just don't realize it because they're trying to get rid of property taxes, which fund most of the sheriff's departments in Ohio.
And the schools.
And the schools, but also the sheriff's department. They're literally fighting to defund the police.
Yep. Now, I'm not a huge fan of property taxes myself, but I also
I'm not either.
But it is a thing that we use to fund different things. The mechanism we use to fund different things locally. There's also a great bulwark to stop billionaires, that's SOB who died a few months ago, Ursay, for buying up plots of land. It's the only thing that we can't to check for billionaires just buying land. I'm like, I don't have to pay taxes on it. Cool. I buy all Southern Indiana. That's fine.
Yeah.
The thing that I always thought was the big problem, obviously we kept on talking about the sprawl inside of all this. And a lot of people want, limited government. They want limited size in it. And we're so detached from what our taxes are being spent on. And I mean, the idea, and I'm not defending parallel society, but I'm saying, trust me, I am for taxes being collected and spent as local as possible, because then you have direct control. If it goes to the
user fees,
user fees or something like that, something along the lines of, and I'm even user fees I get a little fuzzy on, because there's things like, we're going to do user fees for the roads. Well, the roads are kind of important for freedom of movement. That public right of way, I really think is a valuable thing, because I can bar you from private property, but I can't bar you from public property. The only way I can bar you from it is if I arrest your ass.
And we don't have the common law right of travel like they do in England.
you
You
and I've
can,
seen
just not right. You can. You
No,
just
I
can't
meant
use car.
across certain people, like
right.
ours
okay,
is
yeah,
in the
oh, yeah,
roadways.
yes.
Property.
Yeah,
You,
yeah, yeah.
you
yes,
see what I'm
yes.
talking about. In England, like you have the right to travel across a lot of private land.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of
That is, we don't have that here in the U.S. So you're right. Roadways are the only.
right. And the thing is, yeah, in Iceland, it is actually perfectly legal. And I mean, some of the owners aren't thrilled with it, but if you go camping and you can go right from one right through, you can go right through their backyard, and
Yep.
that's 100%
As
legal.
long as you pick up after yourself and you don't harm the land or any of that stuff, it's perfectly legal to do. Yeah.
Yep.
But this is the problem we have. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things of there's obviously I think freedom of movement and things like that are entirely required for liberty. If I control where you're going, then guess what? You can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean,
What happens in a libertarian society where you can't travel on anybody else's property without their permission? You have this plot of land and somebody buys up all the land completely around you and effectively circling you in. You can't get out. What do you do?
Well, we would get all the people together to tell that person not to do it. Oh, so we're doing posses now? Cool. I didn't know that.
Yes, we are.
We just need the
and
Star Trek teleporter.
If that person has more money and therefore a bigger group of people with guns who can say, no, I'm not going to do it. We're going to do it this way. How do you fight that?
All I hear is more to lose.
Yeah. Well,
that's why we need to invent the Star Trek teleporter.
No, because got news, you're going to use fiber going across the public right away, and damn it, I want my quarter if I'm going to beam your ass across my property. I want my quarter, damn it. Otherwise,
it's the immigration argument that I was making before, where I would say they would say, "Well, we just don't want them going across my property." I'm like, "Well, you're telling me what I can do on my property, and I'm not telling you what you can do on yours. If I fly somebody in a helicopter from Brazil." And have them fly in a helicopter and land on my property and stay there with me, they have not transversed or caused your property at all, have affected you in any way, and you're still going to tell me that I can't do that, then your problem is not the things you say it is, you rationalize it to be. The problem is you just don't want those people here around you.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
And they're always going to, as I said, Trump has used this very well to get his base energized, but as I said, more and more people are getting really ticked off. And yes, Dennis, I know it hasn't been soon enough for you, but
we predicted this last year when I said when they start the mass roundups that they're talking about doing, people are going to realize what they're really talking about, because they're not concepting it. They're not realizing what they're actually voting for right now. And when they see it in play and they see the guy who runs the taco cart that they used to buy from, and now they can't go get that food anymore because that guy's no longer here, or the guy who used to take care of their lawn, or the guy used to, when they can't, their grocery prices are 3 times as high because now we get no way to get this food out of the fields, when we have to import it. All that stuff's going to start happening, and people are going to start seeing it, and they're going to go, oh, I didn't vote for this.
The whole Iran thing is starting to erode the base too. So they've got to get that wrapped up quick.
So I've got several different people.
Supposedly they have, but Iran says they haven't. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So what I've got in my world going on is like the people who are here legally, they've got their green cards, and now they're too afraid to leave. One of them, this one guy, an amazing, fantastic, amazing artist. His daughter just won brought the women's yoga championship back to Indiana, right? Like citizen, right? Like he's been here for years. He's got his green card, and he's too afraid. He's barely afraid to leave his house. He gets his groceries delivered. He doesn't answer his door. Right. He gets his groceries delivered to his daughter's house, and he just and she drops it off. He doesn't open his door.
Don't fly anywhere.
Right.
As a U.S. citizen, I still wouldn't leave. I had a chance. We were up in New York, and I was like, well, we could jump up. When I used to go to New York, I'd jump over into Canada and hang out there, go to the casino or something, and come back. I ain't doing that now. I'm not going to cross that border.
Oh, they ain't letting
they get my phone and they try to make me look at my phone and whether I like Trump or not. But my mother, who is, getting up there, I mean, if you think I'm old, has never left the country. And now my brother and sister-in-law are going to go to Italy this fall, and they're going to take her with them. It's her first, so she's trying to get her passport. She can't get her passport because her name changed from when she was married 58 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, 60 years ago, she can't get that done because, and she's the Homeland Security. She's got her real ID from the state, but the Department of Homeland Security is fighting her on it, and it's like, what? And are you sure you want to do this? Because who's to say you can get back in, even though you were born here, your parents were born here, your grandparents were born here. It was your great grandparents that came over in the 1900s.
Yeah,
who's to say?
And of course, if you go in with the wrong documentation in Europe in the Schengen zone like that, you screw up going into Italy, you can get banned from the entire EU essentially. And
now the only positive thing that for her is that she's white, so it's going to be, if she was not, it would be a lot easier. It would be a lot more scary, I'm sure, to say, pick her out of the line and there you go. You must be from this other place because you're just lying because we could tell or whatever.
Oh yeah. That's why a lot of like
I wouldn't go anywhere right now. I don't. I'm a disabled vet. I still wouldn't go out and do anything. I'm just keep my head down.
Okay, so that makes me good because I've been uncomfortable because like a lot of people like have invited like, oh, we're gonna go to Portugal. It's like I just don't feel like comfortable like leaving. I don't know if I'm gonna come back, especially because like I've got
if I leave this country, it's going to be because I'm moving somewhere else, and I've got my wife who's just sending me constantly. Oh look, they'll pay you to get this land in Ireland, some here, or go to Iceland and live there. And I'm just like, he's like, no, you don't understand what you're getting into if you do that. You don't want to do that. I have ancestry from Ireland, and therefore I'm technically allowed the citizenry. I'm like, that's not the way it's going to work. You're getting told things that aren't true. So be careful. But that's the only probably way I would leave is if we were to say, hey, let's just pick up and go live there now.
No, I mean, they can go through all your electronic devices when you come back.
Yep.
Both sides. Both sides.
Both sides.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, that's why when
you're supposed to give them your password, but
that's what I try to tell people that for a company, it's like if you're traveling internationally or like that, you have to tell me like why. It's like because I'm turning your one password off. What?
Yes.
Turning your one password off, and I'm like, no, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Turn that off. You can't.
Take a burner. Take a burner.
What you do? Here's a trick. When they ask you for your password, give them the wrong one. They'll type it in. Oop, one fail. Oh, come on. I'm sorry, that was the wrong one. That was the one for the mail. I apologize. Use this one. Bump. No, that one's wrong. Now you've got 2 attempt fails. Set yours to like 5 attempt fails and just keep playing them and make them wipe the phone.
That sounds
I was trying to comply.
But then you're missing your connecting.
But now we've got video of you saying that.
Roommate named Bubba, but
now we've got video of you saying that. So if you try it, they're going to be like, "Oh,
I ain't trying. I ain't going nowhere. I'm not getting involved in any of this.
My phone's backed up in the cloud called my house. My phone's just gonna show up and it's gonna be completely brand new. Just out of where's your phone? It's like right here. Log in.
Just ship it.
Yeah, when I get past you, I'll download all my stuff back down from my own house.
Carry a burner phone that you don't care about, be it Android, whatever.
Flip phone.
And ship your phone and stuff that you need over there.
Correct.
And ship it back. Because shipping, they can't ask for it. They
just
ease it.
There's no point in shipping.
You got to make sure it only has the necessary things on it.
Why shipping? Because your phone is just send it to the internet. Send it back home. Send it back home. Why do you?
As long as you don't have your social, as long as you have your social set up on it, you don't have your email set up on it, or none of that stuff. They can get into your phone, but it's not going to have connection to anything.
Yeah,
that's what they really want. They want to get into your stuff.
Yeah, you can leave your phone. You can leave your phone at your house. Forward your calls to the new phone that you're going to get over there.
Yep.
That's it.
Or just get the SIM card while you're over there.
Yeah.
Just go.
Don't take your phone. There's no point. You don't need that text message. You can download Instagram over there. You can get on the FaceTubes, TikToks.
Just like Randy Feltface says, you don't need a phone. You're not the president. You don't work for the president. You work at Kohl's. What do you really need a phone in your pocket all the time for? You don't need that.
640K. That's all we need.
Up my bandwidth.
All right. So before we get thanks for you guys entertain me on that last little bit. Before we get too long, let's just go wrap up. So we're gonna go around, get a good minute wrap up. Say your piece, and we'll end this show before it gets too long. No, we're not doing a 4-hour episode, Reinhold. No, not happening.
So my final thought is in 5 parts. Part 1
I have notes. It's a soliloquy.
Like those preachers that say in conclusion, that means another 45 minutes.
All right. Brian, go ahead. Oh,
I have this right here, this notepad right here.
Reinhold. All right. Go ahead and wrap up, Reinhold.
No, I'm glad we were able to get into some politics on this show. It has been a while since I've been able to do that, since we haven't had on the big show. We haven't been able to get on there and talk politics since before the election. So there's a lot of stuff I really would like to talk about, and maybe we'll get into some more of that soon. But I do kind of, with everything that's going on, the only bright side that I see with everything that's going on right now is the constant flood of "I told you so's" that I get to say every day.
I feel like I just have this vision. I need to. Okay, I know what I'm doing my next Photoshop on. Okay, it's gonna involve South Park and Randy. So I think you know the meme. Yep, it's happening.
Oh my god! All right, Brian.
Dennis, yes, you've been right on a number of items. There's still things that you and I will disagree upon quite vehemently, namely bombing of Japan. But anyhow, so the thing that I've seen about this is kind of sad, is that we've gotten from the whole idea away from liberty. And the good part about it is that I have people that I thought were convinced that libertarians were just a bunch of Republicans that just wanted to, just basically be like what Dennis and we've been talking about, and really Republicans with, that like to smoke pot. Hmm. And there are a lot of people now that are starting to say, I pay a lot in property taxes, and you guys are right on this. And these are lefties. These are lefties like Vaughn was talking about, and things like that are just starting to open the idea of liberty, because they realize government overreach now with the other person in charge is really a terrible thing. And when the Republicans, the MAGA and the right start realizing that after the 2026 midterms, when they can't get anything done, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to realize, holy shit, this has an expiration date. And I just wish that we could clone Gary Johnson and run him in 2028, and maybe we get somebody, that would be decent and run a nice middle campaign. I don't think any of us would object to Mitt Romney going up there. Well, there's lots of reasons to object to Mitt Romney, but I'm talking, the personality and stuff like that. Running a very boring middle of the road presidency where we're nice to everybody, and we don't. I don't think we can get Fetterman. Too many health issues. But
his people need to be protecting him better, and they're not.
No, they're doing. He's got some people inside that are just destroying him, and that's unfortunately. But the reality is that in the end, I want liberty to come back, and this has been a really terrible 6 months so far of this. God, it's already been 6 months.
Yeah, it's been 6 months.
5.5, 6 months. Only 3.5 years ago.
we talk about steering the ship towards liberty, and then we've the last 6 months we've sank it.
Maybe we Steak and Shake's out there trying to take him out with tallow. Okay.
The problem
and
is
now the FBI is knocking on my door. Thanks a lot.
I'll say this after we're done. I'll say something. I don't want to get in on it.
He doesn't want to get swatted.
That's fine. All right, Vaughn.
I think one hopeful thing is I'm starting to see pushback, and I hope, because this is a callback to when Dennis was talking about that populist president who, after he took the patronage system to an extreme that just absolutely crippled everything, people were like, wait, we can't let this happen again. And they put in some things. And that's the kind of resistance that we need to be building, as it were, right now. This idea that, hey, we're seeing all of the chickens come to roost. Well, what can we do to make it so that we can stop that from happening again? And I think that's a focus we need to be thinking of in local politics, even as well.
Yeah. Is what happening going on with Iran right now? Is that the final nail in the coffin to say for Congress when it switches in midterms to say you can't do this anymore? Take back the War Powers Act. Some of that stuff that we've been begging for 30, 40 years. And I had somebody yelling at me the other day about, well, you guys were complaining when Obama was bombing. I'm like, here's the article that I wrote when I called him an unconstitutional war president. What about that? Well, you didn't call for his, where was the calls for his impeachment? I'm like, I called for it in the article. I don't know. I'm just a guy. I can't make everybody else do it. But like, you can't tell me that I'm not, I've not been on this since day one. It's just, it doesn't matter to me who the president is. They can't do that.
As long as they're bombing brown people and they're doing it with our tax dollars and we all wrap it up in the whole bringing democracy for it, everybody kind of turns a blind eye to it. Left and
or
right.
just the machismo of it.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people are getting off on now is that, strong big men. Blah, blah, blah.
The easiest way to cure inflation is to destroy dollars. Easiest way to destroy dollars is bombs. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
That one over.
You just blow up the dollars. Dollars go away. There is no other.
Now.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I'm sick and tired of crypto.
Government controlled crypto now.
Done. There is no point. I am so sick and tired of and it's not like okay. Sorry. Let me preface this. It's not crypto. I love crypto. It's Bitcoin and Bitcoin people that piss me off. It is because I was promised a currency that's faster than the credit card. I could be e-bank, okay, and low fees. That is all gone. Government sees all my transaction, high ass fees, and takes 15 minutes for a transaction. I'm sorry, I didn't sign up for a credit card from the 80s trying to get food from Steak and Shake. I didn't sign up for that crap.
And now if if the wrong people find out you're a billionaire in crypto, you just might get black bagged.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I know.
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of glad I lost my Doge. Shoot. I probably get people kicking my door anymore.
I was gonna say, I do not have any Bitcoin stored on a hard drive in this house. Well, good luck finding it.
No, when I was offered Bitcoin, they were offering it. Say, hey, you can buy this new stuff, this Bitcoin. You can get one Bitcoin for $20, and I'm like, why would I waste $20? So I make great decisions in my life.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard it. I think it was 2011, 12, and it was like. It was like, I still keep listening.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
but that's the other thing. It's like
I would have sold it at 50. I would have sold it at 50. But like, all right, hey, I doubled my money. Cool.
Yeah, but the thing with it, it's only valuable on paper. And it's really hard to do anything with. People started to freak out when people pulled out. What was it, like a couple 100 million this week? I'm like, I can't believe they pulled out. It's like that's what you do with money. You have to use it. Is this stock or currency? What is this? I'm very frustrated because it's not a currency anymore.
No.
I can't believe I went to this for my phone.
It's never been a currency. It's never been easy to use. I've always said if you're going to replace the US dollar with anything, it has to be better and easier. It just has to be better to use.
Yeah,
better. Whether that's more stable, whether that's easier to do and things like that. And you can't beat a credit card. Yeah, I can.
And private. Completely private.
Think this.
Yes, the government can't control it. It'll never be private if the government controls it.
Yeah. I always hated it when I was trying to tell people, it's like the simple fact that listen, if the government didn't want your Bitcoin transaction on the network, they'd stop it. I was like, no, they can't. It's like, are you stupid?
Yeah, they can.
And it's not anonymous. So
yes, it's definitely not anonymous. It's definitely not anonymous. And it really,
you're just signing your name on the dollar bill essentially and say, I just bought this. Love and kisses, Reinhold.
Correct. And certain coins are poisoned because they've known they've been hit by certain hands, so you can't really touch these coins from certain wallets.
Right.
But that's there. I'm glad we solved the case with taxation and theft, and whether you could cross imaginary lines, because I think the country would be a lot different place if we actually had enforced borders, even in between states. It'd be asinine trying to go anywhere and do anything. And that's why I see different borders. I think it would help Canada out. I think it would also help Mexico out. It's easy to just travel between the two.
Yep.
There's thousands of open borders in the United States. People cross them every day, and they're so against it.
Yeah. And they'll live in border city, and the people that used to go work across and stuff like that. Do you really want that to stop?
Yeah. they've already had they've stopped a lot of different border towns from like the Canadian border because of this 9/11 bull crap, having to go and get passports. Like there's
when you look at the border towns of California, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, most of them are blue.
Yep.
Because they want those people. They're good with those people coming over. It's the people in the northern part of those states who are like, nah, we don't want those people here.
Yeah. Anyways, and on that bombshell, thank you everyone. You could listen to anything else in the world, but you decided to listen to this, and that I thank you. This is a podcast recorded at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday nights. Please tune into us live on twitch.tv/wearelibertarians, the letter R, or youtube.com/wearelibertarians. Please come hang out with us, and to the 350 plus of you guys who download this episode every week, please come hang out with us live. But I understand this is a podcast network, and I get it. But, thank you for guys having a good time, and see you guys next week. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.